Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Friday! I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Friday, guys. Talk to you guys about a couple of different things. I want to talk to you guys about manifestation. I also want to talk to you guys about, well, I'll just keep it around manifestation because it kind of all just kind of piggybacks off of it in general. So let's just stick with that. Next, I want to say too, I know there's a lot to talk around manifestation. Is it new age? Is it this? Is it that? Right? In all honesty, I don't even know what labels are goes where because I don't keep up with none of that stuff, right? But here's my personal opinion about manifestation. When it comes down to kingdom things, kingdom blessings, those blessings you cannot manifest. You have to be in alignment. Your job is to be in alignment and in a posture to receive, which I'm going to speak about that in a few minutes. And then the things that God has manifested for you will be released to you. Kingdom things. Now, outside of kingdom things, granted, I mean, I'm sure you have some very determined, I'm very determined, right? You have some very determined people who are just go-getters, and they're just like, listen, if I want it, it's mine. That's my mindset too. And I've been able to, I guess, if you will, manifest things from that point of view. But I'll tell you this, when you're quote unquote manifesting something from your own will, your own intentions, you yourself will be responsible for keeping up with that, for maintaining it. And most times there's no peace behind it because there's no grace behind it. Now, when we're talking about kingdom things, promises that God has made you, right? Purpose, calling, visions, things that God have promised you. You can sit there and sit in the park for 37 days nonstop and do yoga. You can sit there with your rocks and whatever else you got. God, please, I don't want to offend anybody. Whatever you got going on, right? Your sage or whatever you got going on, you will not manifest anything in the kingdom at all. Kingdom blessings have to be released by God, and you have to be in a position, a posture, an alignment to receive it. Okay, so now let's go to the other side, what I wanted to speak about. Just because God says something is yours, just because God gave you a vision, just because you're called to it, doesn't mean it just automatically comes to you and that it's automatically promised. It's promised, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it. Again, we have a part to play. And the part that we have to play, the higher I go spiritually, I'm realizing that our part is no joke. Seriously, it is almost like you are completely separated from just the average person. Your whole mindset, your whole perspective, your whole level of discipline, your whole level of sacrifice, your whole level of standing is so demanding. So I believe the reason why a lot of people do not see the manifestations of God is because they're just not putting that work in. They're not putting that work in. For different reasons. Some people may not even know how intense the work is, because remember, you go from level to level. So you may be at a level now where God is just really starting you off, right? And you really think like, okay, I'm on this level and it's tough because I don't know, I can't go out every weekend. I got to stay home and read the word. Where you may think that's the hardest thing. But then the higher you climb, you're going to be called to fast for periods of time. You're going to be called to war in the spirit for your family and for the things that God have promised you. And warring in the spirit looks like different things. You're going to be called to just whatever God tells you to do, honey. Ain't no back talking. It ain't even no going back and forth with it. Like, well, I don't want to do that. I'll just do that next weekend. Okay. So walk away from your conviction to be obedient to something this week because you don't feel like doing it because you had plans and you'll get to it next week. Okay. Mess around and miss your whole destiny. This thing ain't for the faint of heart. Let me just tell you. So, just because you're called to it. Okay, so I want to take a comment from the comment section that I got, I think, a couple of days ago, for somebody who said that they know that they're called to marriage, right? And of course, this can branch off in so many different directions. You're called to marriage. You're called to ministry. You're called to what is it called when people travel to different countries to help the less fortunate? I can never remember that word, but whatever. You're called to something. See, when you're called to something, it sits in your spirit. And if don't you start phone, it sits in your spirit. And in fact, if you're a person who can like really remember things when you were much younger, I'm one of those people. Something back then has always been there. It was like a seed. So if you look back to the area that you're called now, and how God is using you in your life, and et cetera, something in you just always, you could not articulate it. You probably didn't even know what it is. You just knew something was different, right? So, but is like a Easter egg hunt. You the more you go searching for egg, you find more and you find more, and then there's different levels, and then there's different levels, and then you come into the full manifestation of like that aha moment, like, aha, this is what that was about. Aha, this is why I didn't fit in. Aha, this is why I could never just be a part of follow the leader, because I am the leader, right? That was good. It just all makes sense. But then you arrive to a place where it's like you now see the full vision, or you have a very, very good idea of what it is. But your level of discipline, your level of obedience, your level of sacrifice has to increase if you're going to pull these things in. Yes, God said you're called to it. Yes, God said it's yours. But he just can't give it to you because you're cute. He just can't give it to us because he said it. No, he's telling you what he has for you. So that can be a motivation, first of all, because you love him, but a motivation because he knows he's going to be putting you through some stuff, but that's going to keep you pressing forward. So, okay, you got to tap. You're called to marriage. Maybe you felt that very early on, right? You may have been the person who had the dream. I think they say no, I never had it. They say it's a dream that I guess some girls have, you know, with the white picket fence and the horse and carriage marriage, and your prince is taking you down. Shout. Right? So, okay, you're called to it. So that's in you. Everybody's not called to marriage in certain seasons, right? Again, there were times I turned down 2 proposals. I wasn't called for marriage in that season, or that can shift this season. So the point is, you can be called to something, but in what season? God gave you the inkling and a desire, but it doesn't mean in this season. He gave you the glimpse of it. He gave you the download. He gave you the desire to give you something to work towards. So you just can't experience trauma all of your life, which is not your fault, but it has affected you to the point that you don't trust any man. It has affected you to the point that all you witnessed was your mother or the women in your life emasculating men, regardless if the man is trifling or not. You accepted him in your life. So if he's that trifling versus emasculate him, just get rid of him and get you a man. So we got to stop just picking things up. Well, I do this because he does this. I do this because she does that. Well, when you heal, then that wouldn't even be a part of your life, right? That wouldn't be a part of your life. That's not even in your, you get what I'm saying? People are going to be people. So he can be trifling, she can be trifling. They're going to be trifling when you leave if they don't decide to heal. So you're going to spend your life in a toxic environment with toxic behavior, which is going to cause you to be toxic because you have to respond to all that nonsense. Or are you going to pull away and heal and allow God to really work on you so he can prepare you for the marriage that he promised you? So you could have known you were called to marriage at 18 years old. But what about all the traumas that you experienced in childhood? So God is just supposed to give you his ordained spouse, even though you're traumatized. So what happens? Many times, people don't even know they're unhealed. It's survivor mode for you. You've done it all your life. You've seen it all your life. And this is too why God starts to I'm sorry, guys. I'm sitting here in the nature trail park. I'm about to do my walk. And these ducks are literally fighting. And I mean, they're just fighting. I'm trying to ignore them, but they're like literally grabbing at each other's neck. Like, seriously? Ciao. Can we all just get along here? Right? So, God can't give you something just because you're called to it if you're not prepared for it. So your job, yes, God will manifest that spouse for you. The person is for you. It's ordained. But you have a part to play. Oh, what I'm saying is, this is why you will notice that if you're a person, let's just say you came from trauma all your life. Your parents were crackheads, et cetera, et cetera. You grew up just in trauma, okay? You've never, ever, ever in your life, I'm just stuck on marriages because that was the one comment in the comment section that's in my mind, but take your situation, plug it in, right? So you've never seen a happy marriage all your life. People just got married because they got kids together. People got married for financial, whatever. People got married. They don't even like each other, honey. They don't even like each other, but they're just in the house. They hate each other, but they're just in the house because it looks good for the camera. It looks good for what society says, and they're miserable, which is probably half of the marriages out here, probably more, sadly, right? But God will he'll start putting in your face, literally, healthy marriages. These can be friends. These can be healthy, wholesome marriages, maybe in your community, in your church, or just at work, whatever. But you will randomly meet people who have healthy, whole marriage, not perfect, but healthy, whole marriages. And then you have this epiphany like, I didn't even know this existed. Because all you saw was what you saw. But see, God is giving you that vision. God is giving you the vision of healthy people because he knows you never... See, God is a fair God. He knows that trauma was not your fault. Right? So he's going to now present to you what healthy, wholesome people and things look like. That he gives it to you so you can have an awakening. The awakening then should prompt you to start a healing process, healing journey, which many times, just ask God to come in and help you. You have to ask. You have not because you ask not. When you ask God to heal you, just be prepared for your entire, all caps, entire life to be turned upside down. Right? And don't let that scare you. It needs to happen because everything you know is based on your traumas. So all that stuff you accumulated for yourself. The people in your life, why is y'all... Okay, first, you know what? Okay, guys, I have this thing, right? There's this thing with me. It's always been this way. I don't like to see people ganging up on one person, right? This is probably the story of my life, seriously. Even since I'm talking about kindergarten. I was the person I would make friends with the outcasts, the ones that people would bully or just play by themselves, right? To the point that people would start to, like, I guess, make fun of me because I got, like, the quote-unquote weird people as friends or whatever, which I didn't care about that. But it triggers me. I don't like to see people gang up on a person. And these freaking ducks, it's like, you know what? Actually, I'm probably going to plug a picture in this video. It's like probably 50 of them. And I don't know why they're picking on this one particular duck, but I'm in my feelings. I don't like stuff like that, right? If I see it again, I'm going to end this recording and I'm going to find me a stick or something. Like, leave this duck alone. So, Please, guys, forgive me. I just, certain things trigger me. I don't like to see people bullied. I don't like to see outcasts where people are just making fun of people. I just don't like it. So I lost my whole train of thought here. Lord, please help me get back on thought here. So yeah, so your whole life is going to get turned upside down, but it has to happen. It has to happen. The people that you have in your life now, most of them are probably carrying the same amount of traumas that you are carrying. Most of them, you're probably trying to save them because your trauma have really sensitized you to feeling sorry for people. That's probably why I feel sorry for the ducks. I don't know. You're feeling sorry for the people, so it's like you just want to just take care of them, and God is really trying to take care of you, but you won't even let God really do what he needs to do because you're too busy deflecting on other people because you don't want to heal from your own traumas, right? So think about it. Everything in your life that you have now, people, places, things, some of these things have accumulated from trauma. Let's just say there are certain things in your life that you may be upside down in these things. These can be maybe your house note, your car note, whatever. You're upside down in it. Okay, so the part of the trauma, okay, you came from trauma, so your parents were crackheads. No one could ever teach you about certain financial responsibilities. So you don't know any better. You really don't know any better. So you're 70 and your credit score is 147, right? It's not your fault. You don't know any. Who was there to teach you? So, okay, so you got 147 credit score and you got this house or this car, which I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but you got this house and this car and it have you in bondage. Well, that bondage is still part of your bondage from the trauma. So now God have to snatch that. That may look like a repossession, right? That may look like, and you're just like, Lord, I'm being attacked. It's another demonic attack. But God has to literally take everything, turn your life upside down, take everything that came that was not associated with what he has for you. So now he got to strip you of all that stuff, right? So now through your healing season, he's going to teach you. He's going to bring people in your lives who can teach you the things that you were never taught, that you should have known. But it's going to be up to you because it's iron sharpening iron. So either you're going to sit down, shut up, and listen and learn, because most times the trauma have you fighting against the very people who is trying to help you. Because remember, with trauma is fight or flight. So now these people are tapping into some areas that you're a little insecure about. Like, hold on, who are you talking about? You talking about me? Are you like... And the whole time, God has placed these people in your life to truly help you because you didn't know any better. You thought you knew better, but you didn't. But what happens? Most people run back. Most people run back because it's extensive. And the higher you go, it's more extensive. But if you can just humble yourself. See, this is why, again, I always say, how bad do you want it? It all depends on how bad do you want it. Honestly, if God has made you a promise and you don't feel like you want it bad enough, I mean, the wise thing to do is to get in alignment where you do want it. But let's just say you don't think it's worth it. It will be more easier to go back. That's why most people do go back. That's why most people are at a certain level. But if God has shown you something, and typically when God shows you something, you want it because it's major, right? But if God have shown it to you and you want it, you got to keep pressing through. You can't just sit there. Your recordings that you're listening to all day can't be foolishness. What's going on Shade Room or what's going on in this site and this. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with like looking at those things. I'm speaking about your whole entire day is just on gossip sites. You gotta invest in yourself. You gotta take certain courses. Even if you don't have no money, the people you're listening to have to be people who are on a certain level. These people are proven, and these people's mindset is different. It may feel like rocket science to you, but you got to press in. Instead of going out every weekend, you got to get up and you got to start listening to certain recordings and certain videos. You got to start investing into your health. You got to go to Google. There's really no excuses anymore. We can lie and say, well, I don't know, I wasn't taught that, right? We could say that before all of this information was free out here in the world. You literally got free therapy on YouTube. But what do? We want to keep blaming other people, and not to say these people are not responsible for their part, but your part is to heal, because once you heal, you wouldn't even deal with that nonsense. So yes, God called you to marriage. Yes, God showed you this promise. Yes, God said you're a billionaire. Yes, God said you're going to have the world biggest ministry. I don't know. Yes, God says you're going to be on stages with spotlights. Whatever God has said to you, if God said it, it is. But it doesn't mean it's going to be released to you. You have a whole part to play. Once you go through your healing process, ask God. Ask God, literally. And listen, I'm telling you, disclaimer, do not ask God to step in if you're not prepared for your life to get turned upside down. But there will be a grace to it. So when people start falling off, right, it's going to be hurtful, but it is not, probably 90 to 95% of the people will fall off. Not all at once, right? God is gentle. So, but it will be a grace where it's just like, me and this person don't even have anything in common anymore. I was straight fool up over this dude one time. Now I'm like, girl, what was you thinking? Right? So he changes your perspective. He changes your desires. So it's not like he's just going to snatch the rug from well, that can happen sometimes, right? Where it's everything all at once. He won't do that, but he will snatch the rug when he's giving you convictions about certain things over and over, and he's being gentle to help you move from it, and you won't move from it. Or he will snatch that rug. Oh, he will snatch that rug and your edges at the same time. Let me just tell you. So that's why obedience over emotions is so important. Obedience over emotions is so important, because if you mess around, God will snatch that rug from you. And that's going to be way harder than if you were to just take the step out on faith and try to pull away or walk away from what he's calling you from. So if he said it, it's yours. But he has to prepare you for it. He has to change your perspective about it. If all you saw were people who got married because they have children together, or people who got married because, I don't know, the cars in both their names and the houses, if that's all you saw, then how in the world could God give you a marriage and you don't even have the right perspective about what marriage really is? So you're just saying, well, God, a lot of people actually say, well, God says I'm called to marriage. God says I'm called to marriage. God says I'm called to marriage. Where's the marriage? Where's the marriage? Where's your sacrifice? Where's your sacrifice? Where's your transition? Intentional obedience. Again, if you don't know, you don't know. You really think like, okay, well, God says it's mine, boom. But during your delays, right, during the wilderness, during the seasons where God will have you sit in silence, because you will hit those seasons first, you will then have the revelation and aha moment, like, okay, this is why it's not happening this quick. See, it's almost like, I don't use the word trap you off, because that's not what God does, but it's almost like he shows you bits and pieces, because he knows, honey, if he show you the whole picture, nobody got time for that nonsense. I got to go. So he gets you to a certain level, and then you hit this delay, and you're like, what is this about? Boom. Another transition about something. And so you just keep moving up the ladder and keep moving up the ladder, and so on and so on and so on. The great thing, though, is that throughout all this process, when you finally arrive to due season, which you still got levels and due seasons, but it will all make sense to you. You will understand that due season could have never ever happened without your wilderness, without your transformation season, etc., etc. Some of you are, I don't think some people even know Well, I'm sure they don't, because I didn't even know. You don't even know the kind of power you carry till you get to certain levels. You have the power to break, literally, it's the ducks again. You have the power to literally break chains off of your family and anybody that's called to you. You have the power. Well, you will get the power to, like, the stuff that you carry is so powerful. It's so powerful. So this is why a lot of you guys are sitting longer than you want, because the perspective is, well, God just says I'm called to marriage, or God says this. See, you're just thinking about, I'm called to marriage, so it's just going to be me and my husband and our children or whatever. You're called to way more than that, because once you get married, then the ministry, because marriage is a ministry in itself, but then that's going to grow. So now you're married, and now you're going to enjoy your marriage, the honeymoon stage, and God is going to tap you and say, all right, next level. So all that stuff that you sat and you learn, and all the power that you develop, and the knowledge that you gain, and the wisdom and the insight, that stuff is going to be used for ministry even after the marriage. So it's not just about you and your husband. God is preparing you for the marriage, but God is also preparing you on how these destinies are going to collide, and these visions are going to collide, and how he's going to even use that and merge it and use it for even bigger purpose. So you see, the perspective is so limited, because all we think is about, well, God, why am I in the wilderness for 35 years just to get a husband or just to get a wife? It's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that, honey. Girl, please, after 6 months, that man gonna be stressing you out. 8 months, she gonna be stressing you out, and you're gonna be like, Lord, did I even really cry and beg to be married, and now I don't even want this person no more? Right? But it's going to be the things that